Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ben Sahacic. I represent Lonza. I will be speaking with you today for the next half an hour or so about Lonza's SimpliFiH Solutions, an integrated offer with focus on bioavailability challenge molecules and present Lonza's offering in enabling clients to advance their programs from preclinical to first-in-human studies in a within the prefixed timeline and price. Just provide a little bit of background on what has been behind Lonza's offer in this particular space and attempt to address the changing landscape with particular focus on more and more compounds that are coming out of development that are highly complex, highly potent, reflecting the industry trend where there's more and more smaller companies with less than 100 full-time employees that are driving innovation, as you will see in some of the subsequent slides. Many of the compounds do have poor solubility, requiring appropriate technologies for bioavailability enhancement, and to add complexity to it. Many of those compounds come with some type of expedited regulatory review, putting additional pressures on the clients to deliver within tight timelines. Lonza is very well positioned to respond to these needs. Specifically, as we look at the basket of small innovators that often are a virtual setup with little to none in terms of GMP capabilities, whether it's within drug substance, drug product, or packaging space. So they are looking for partners that have the global depth and breadth to provide appropriate technologies, but also geography to advance their compounds. The slide that you can see now provides you a bit of a background by clinical phase and significant representation by small clients that reflect the model that I just described, looking for partners such as Lonza. We see this specifically in the oncology space, where the trends that I just addressed are probably even stronger as far as oncology pipeline. A lot of focus by small companies, that therapeutic indication that represents the trends we just talked about. The one particular area that Lonza has established strong reputation around is for compounds that are BCS class 2 and 4 that require some type of bioavailability enhancement, significant chunk of specifically oncology pipeline that is requiring specialized technologies. And I'll be speaking with you a little bit about not just the offer, what it entails, but certainly Lonza's depth and breadth in terms of capabilities and geography. When it comes to improving oral drug bioavailability, it's become more and more of a challenge within the industry, specifically when it comes to seeking the right technology and identifying technology early in the process that can give you the highest chance of success. As part of Lonza's offer, as you will see in subsequent slides, is really leveraging the years and years of experience and market leadership position in helping clients select the right technology from the get-go and minimize the trial and error approach, if you want. So what we obviously can call or refer to as the rational technology selection and how we currently go through that. What is SimpliFiH Solution in terms of Lonza's integrated services? It really is a comprehensive service package that allows clients to partner with a single provider for their early phase projects, from early API chemical synthesis through clinical labeling and enabling their first in human studies. I think it's really important to differentiate that not only are we leveraging the strong technological and technical expertise that the company has, but truly providing an offer to clients for a pre-established price within the pre-established timeline. For those that are not familiar with Lonza's offering, company has been around for over 100 years. The space that we are currently playing in cuts across both small and large molecules, including cell and gene therapy. Today's presentation is largely focused on our offering within the chemistry division. I will also share with you our global footprint within the chemistry division and some specific capabilities that exist within it. It's space that certainly continues to grow as far as our presence in both North America and Europe, combined with our drug substance development and clinical and commercial manufacturing in Asia as well. It really does allow specifically small to mid-sized clients to reduce their risks and complexity by outsourcing all the relevant activities to move their programs into first-in-human studies to one partner, where from awarding the business to essentially dosing patients or even earlier filing IND or IMPD can be done in as few as 32 weeks. And I will share with you later how that breaks down across drug substance, drug product, and packaging. It leverages SimpliFiH as the integrated offer, leverages multiple facets within the global offering, and a combination of our chemistry expertise within the drug substance world, coupled with various bioavailability techniques, whether it's micronization and capabilities that we have both in Europe, specifically in Switzerland, and in the US, or spray dry dispersion, or lipid-based formulation, that depending on the particular compound, that early process that talks about technology selection concludes in recommendation of the primary technology for clients to pursue. We believe that working with clients that are under tremendous pressure in terms of timeline and cost, that defining the actual deliverable combined with Lonza's commitment around the time frame and price becomes critical to not just success of the program, but the client's ability to appropriately budget for the particular program and schedule non-CMC related activities, whether it's preparing the clinical trial and clinical sites for enrollment of the first patient, becomes absolutely critical. And Lonza stands behind the both price and cost that is negotiated with clients for the particular need. It can leverage all components of it, all components being from synthesis upfront through clinical labeling, or can certainly leverage parts of that equation, either on the drug substance or drug product side. It's sort of like pick your item from the menu as far as the offering. So what is Global's footprint? What I have here for you is Lonza's footprint specifically within the chemistry division. Our chemistry division essentially is composed of three main pillars or three business units. Those business units are drug substance, drug product, and capsule delivery solutions. I've highlighted in red what I think is of most interest to you and this particular offer. And I'd like to take a moment just to elaborate a bit on, if you were to partner with Lonza, geographically, where you're most likely to work with us. We have broad capabilities on the API side within Switzerland and China, and for different clients, there's preference in terms of territory, sometimes preference in terms of cost, but either way, we have long track record of delivering on complex compounds from both Visp, Switzerland, and Nansha, China. As you move downstream in supply chain, and the offering we have as part of the integrated solution in the drug product space represents a combination of 6 drug product manufacturing sites with their own uniqueness in terms of technologies. It's a combination of 3 sites in Europe and 3 sites in the US, as you can see. We have a micronization site on both continents that allows us to move fairly rapidly from the drug substance side to micronizing your compound, whether it's in Europe or US, and ultimately maybe just proceeding to powder in bottle or powder in capsule to enable first in human. For those compounds that lend themselves well to a lipid-based formulation, we have a broad range of capabilities and a long track record of manufacturing lipid-based formulations in Plamel, France, and liquid-fill hard capsules in Edinburgh, Scotland. As far as our US capabilities, on the drug product side, for spray-dry dispersion as another technology for compounds that require bioavailability enhancement, our facility in Bend, Oregon is a global leader in that particular space and is certainly our global center of excellence for spray-dry dispersion. And last but not the least is our facility in Tampa, Florida, that offers broad range of capabilities, whether it's as simple as need active in a capsule, powder in a bottle, or formulation of tablets or formulated capsules. When you look at the range of capabilities, this footprint allows us to make commitments within certain time frame and cost that we can deliver on the compound to enable your first in human studies. It allows us to manage your program under one umbrella, one master service agreement, managed by one project manager to ease the communication and whatnot. And as importantly, especially for smaller clients, it really creates financial leeway for companies where there's one invoice at the end of the process. So Lonza, we as a large company, take on the financial risk that comes with earlier parts of the equation. As you recall some of the earlier slides, and as we focus on maybe most specifically oncology compounds that fall in the category that do require bioavailability enhancement, one might ask, what is the process that we specifically go through? So if you were to come to us with your problem statement, our solution proposal that comes under the SimpliFiH umbrella, the recently launched integrated services by Lonza, essentially starts, it's a circular process that starts off with the early compound assessment and determination of the most likely technology selection to give you the process. We have capabilities across the network to provide everything from solid state characterization and physical chemical characteristics of the compound assessment through small scale API manufacturing that certainly includes ability to handle highly potent compounds at the facilities we've discussed, through drug product and ultimately labeling. When it comes to first in human clinical labeling, specifically in the oncology space, it's typically fairly small population body. Therefore, the volume that comes with is fairly small. For ease of management, these services are often packaged in bottles, often a handful of bottles from what we see clients will often place more product on stability to generate future stability profile than they will to dose patients. But we have the ability to either the automated fill, bottle fill and clinical labeling, or do it manually, whether it's in Europe or in the US. As you look at the package, if you want, and what are some of the characteristics and timeline, it really depends on the particular program and particular technology. But in reality, the basic package that ultimately you will take in to IND or IMPD submission and dose your first patient in has the components that are captured here. I've tried to illustrate sort of how the 32 weeks breaks down, but in reality, there's some underlying assumptions as far as the complexity of your compound synthesis that's required. So it can shift within the 32 weeks, but the idea is that from our perspective, you have the starting and ending point with individual tasks that will likely shift to the left or to the right, depending on your particular needs. The basic package does have some certain assumptions embedded in it, and I think it goes without saying that as we add deliverables to that basic package, in the spirit of full transparency, that cost and timeline that we keep reinforcing certainly has the potential to be affected. It's a single source partner that we're trying to establish with our clients, really providing for a platform to ultimately ease the process on your end. We believe that by doing this, based on independent research, we believe that this approach has the potential to shave off significant time in comparison to fragmenting your supply chain and having to identify and negotiate agreements with multiple service providers that can be as complex as working with 3 different service providers, one being the drug substance side, one being the drug product side, and one being on the clinical labeling side. I think there's very few companies out there that have the depth and breadth of Lonza in the 3 pillars, and we believe we are uniquely positioned to be your long-term partner to not just enable your rapid FIH study, but also stay with you from your initial concept to commercialization with the minimum cost or financial commitment upfront, and under a simplified approach from the contracts, quality agreements, regardless of which site you work with, working under a single umbrella agreement, and coordinated design and communication across the supply chain through our centralized project management approach. I want to talk about the building blocks a little bit, because one might ask, what does all that include, right? So I've included a few things in here. I'm not going to read through individual points, but included a few items that, as you go through the process, that you might say, what am I paying for, and what is being delivered. So on the API side, we're obviously talking a fairly small amount, directionally less than 1 kilo. On the drug product side, it's no different. You could almost segment for the drug product and formulation technologies. You can look at it in 4 segments, with the assumption that through the tech selection process, your most likely technology will be recommended and selected. On the micronization part, we've talked about the options we have within our network, and I've listed specifically what that would include. On the powder and capsule, the assumption is you're really working with a handful of capsules over a couple strengths for that initial phase 1. On the analytical side, It's what we call phase 1 appropriate method qualification. So we're not including full method validation here. That's something that would obviously come subsequent as your clinical program advances. On the liquid fill hard capsules, it's essentially the same approach, and so is for spray dry dispersion. So ultimately, I think the message here, the concept remains the same. Technology will be recommended based on the characteristics of your compound, but the ultimate deliverable does not change regardless of which technology is selected. I think this is simply maybe a slightly different view around the technology selection and how do we do this. We have our internal centers of excellence and teams of scientists that would work very closely with you as a client through the tech selection process and walk you through specifically what are the input variables that go into the tech selection process that ultimately takes you to the final deliverable around recommended technology and avoiding the trial and error until you get to the point that you establish the most successful one. Just a couple of additional piece of information when it comes to the available technology within the drug product space once the tech package has been completed and the selection has been recommended. It sort of walks you through our current capabilities for each one of those, if you want, techniques that you place in one of the three segments, either approaching your poorly soluble compounds through particle size reduction, spray dry dispersion, or lipid-based formulation that cater to the specific compounds within the previous tech selection process. So in summary, trying to really highlight the key deliverables if you were to approach Lonza with your problem statement in a compound, with a desire to partner with a client that has the ability to take you through the process of synthesis, tech selection, and ultimately delivery. What are the key points? What is our offer? Lonza's SimpliFiH offer is really intended to provide you with a single partner who can supply you with drug substance, drug product, focused on enhanced formulation, as importantly managed by one point of contact and one contract. One might ask, how do we, as a large company with a complex footprint, manage this through a single point of contract? We manage it by establishing what we call a centralized project management. So you don't end up discussing with multiple nodes within your supply chain, status of your project as the project moves from one stage to another. It is the responsibility of our centralized project manager to collect the input from relevant technical SMEs and almost, if you think of it as sub-project managers within each node of supply chain, and present consolidated view, consolidated picture of your program as it moves through the process in a single manner rather than fragmented project management view. Who is it for? In reality, this can be applied to any client. It can be as simple as need active in a capsule. It does not necessarily have to require certain technology for bioavailability enhancement, but we believe that the clients that may show highest level of interest are those that have limited in-house resources. So those small companies we talked about at the beginning of the presentation that have very finite resources in terms of personnel, in terms of financials, in terms of available budgets. So we believe that those small to mid-sized biotech companies may find this uniquely positioned to advance their programs, but it certainly doesn't mean that that's the only group of clients that can benefit from this. If you were to look at the financial details behind it, I don't have that here, but I can certainly speak to it. You can look at cost and deliverable for packages as simple as API only, or as complex as API combined with spray-dry dispersion and maybe micronization and lipid-based formulation sitting somewhere in the middle. But the cost can certainly range fairly significantly depending on the complexity of your problem statement and the technology recommended, but those choices are generally presented to you up front. It is a package, what we call 8-month, 32-week program that can certainly shave off months from your timeline as far as being able to enroll your first patient. The next point I really want to stress again, that Lonza as a large company is taking on the API liability that comes with this program and essentially postponing the financial flow to you as a client or outflow to later stages in the process, maybe allowing for better redeployment of your own internal resources. What is unique about it? I think we've covered quite a bit in terms of what Lonza brings to the table, but in addition to what we've discussed, I think it's fair to state that we are an industry leader in terms of most advanced bioavailability enhancement capabilities, but also, as importantly, the ability to scale up from grams to kilos later on. I think when we talk about concept to commercialization ideas, from the client's perspective, in the perfect world, you would want to work with a partner that can transparently offer integrated services to you early on, but ultimately somebody that you can start the relationship with, but also stay as your program advances. And we have that. We certainly offer the ability to scale up with you well beyond phase 1 and ultimately into commercialization and lifecycle management. We work with significant number of clients that desire guaranteed access to capacity as the programs advance and have agreements in place that give them certain rights to capacity, whether it's in drug substance space or drug product space, that essentially gives you that comfort that we can respond to any significant swings in your demand. And I think that's really important when you think well beyond first in human. I know it's hard early on because it's the immediate problem you have to solve, but I cannot stress enough that during those discussions, there should also be consideration given to what comes after. So in summary, to wrap it up before we open it to any questions that the group may have, what is Lonza's SimpliFiH Solutions integrated offer? It's our offer to the industry and the client base to select one partner that can give you the greatest chance of success for all the reasons we've just discussed. Happy to engage with any of you directly, either via email, now, offline, and provide you with more details on any of the components we discussed today.